Yeah, sales was good and it taught me a lot. I was in the solar industry, so I was putting solar panels up on roofs
Yeah, that's
and,
exciting.
yeah, it was a great industry, great space. But I was just truly, after 12 years of doing it, I just didn't have that spark when I would wake up and then I started doing multifamily and I found the spark again. And so I think that was just a clear sign to me that I needed to be going to where my energy was taking me. And so I wanted to put more of my time into multifamily.
So you quit your job after you've done your first deal. So why did you do that? Why did you do your first job and not your first deal or not your third deal or whatever else? Why after the first deal?
Well, I had been in sales for, 12 years prior to that. I was ready for a new challenge, something that stretched me, made me better. And, 12 years of doing the same thing over and over, I was ready for something new. And so I was searching for multifamily, found it, finally started building some momentum. But I was, waking up every single day, I was more excited about doing multifamily than I was my job. So that's when I knew I was going the right direction.
So you had some savings, I assume. And can you share what your acquisition fee was on that first deal?
Yeah, my portion of it was 106,000.
So that's not insignificant. And what I find is a lot of times it's the acquisition fee that gets people to quit their job. It's not so much the passive income because that comes a little bit, down the road, year 2 or 3, but the acquisition fee is
Sure.
meaningful,
Hmm.
because you got a burn rate of over $10,000, $15,000. Now you have a 6 to 12 month runway plus your savings. And you're like, you know what? The faster I can get full time on this, the faster I can accelerate those results, which you did. I mean, you just share with me what you've done in 18 months, and it's incredible. But talk about, before we get into that, you said you were doing sales for the last 10, 12 years or whatever. Why did you want to get out of that? Because it sounds like you had a pretty good thing going. Your life was pretty good.
Yeah, sales was good and it taught me a lot. I was in the solar industry, so I was putting solar panels up on roofs
Yeah, that's
and,
exciting.
yeah, it was a great industry, great space. But I was just truly, after 12 years of doing it, I just didn't have that spark when I would wake up and then I started doing multifamily and I found the spark again. And so I think that was just a clear sign to me that I needed to be going to where my energy was taking me. And so I wanted to put more of my time into multifamily. But yeah, no, my sales background definitely was going fine. But the last like 2 or 3 years, performance is starting to decline because I didn't have as much passion for what I was doing. And that was a red flag to me. It may help me realize I need to be putting my energy and focus towards where I do have that passion and fire.
Yeah, but could have just got another sales job or something you like more, selling Ferraris or something. Why not that?
Yeah.
And why throw it out the window?
Yeah. And, I think I tried to, figure out where my skill sets could relate in the multifamily space. But I think it stemmed from my family. I grew up in a family that had real estate, my whole childhood, both single family and multifamily. My parents had a 26 unit and a 42 unit building. But part of the reason why I wanted to jump into multifamily was they were self-managing all 10 of their properties, their single family properties, and both their multifamily. And I just saw that they were doing it wrong. And I wanted to kind of help them become more passive and help retire them.
Yeah. I find that a lot of times people bring in their professional experience into the multifamily space and they really play into their strengths, and then they tend to joint venture or partner with others who complement them. What were some of your strengths that you brought in from your sales background? What did you find, or maybe even your partners find, useful about your background?
I think it just comes from, learning to communicate really well over the years, from doing some sales. But, you talk to a variety of different people from all different walks of life and you learn how to communicate, quite a bit better. And I think that translated directly over to, capital raising, investor relations, learning how to tap into social media a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's really where it was just forming good relationships. I attribute a lot of my success to the people that I surrounded myself with.
So communication, relationships. What about work ethic though? And the reason I bring that up is because not everyone sticks with it, right? There's a lot of people who get really excited and they get into it and they kind of fall off. And with
Yeah.
sales specifically, you are taught that it's a numbers game and you got to grind, you got to hit the phones, you got to just grind it out. And I
Yeah.
find sometimes people who don't have that kind of background, they kind of miss that piece. How important is that, do you think, for your success?
I think it's huge because I think mindset's a big factor of this, because you have to learn how to be able to take rejection. I mean, we submitted 27 offers before we even got our first deal. And, around 23 and 24, I wasn't nearly as motivated as I was, 1 through 5. And so having a good, strong mindset and being able to take rejection and keep pushing is kind of what kept me going.
I mean, did you have any kind of, some kind of maybe adult supervision that says, hey, keep going? Or are you at this point so self-motivated? They're like, I don't care. I'm going to do this until I'm blue in the face. I'm going to keep putting in offers.
Oh, no way. I wish I could take all the credit, but I mean, as much as I, most of the time I was good, but, there were still plenty of times where I was like, man, will I ever get a deal? And I think a lot of new people coming into the space probably think the same thing. And I'm a firm believer that the only time you lose in this business is if you quit.
So I relate to the sales side for sure. I sold knives door to door pretty much for Cutco back in the day. What did you sell?
I sold solar. I sold home automation. I sold satellite TV. And then I switched over to solar as my last product that I was selling. So, but yeah, I went door to door for several years.
Ton of rejection there. So part of what you're talking about right now is it's interesting because, you almost get that training for rejection in sales. I think sales is the closest thing that you can find to entrepreneurship. So if I have someone I know that I care about, that's like, I really want to be an entrepreneur. And, I'd say the next step for them, if they're just really not that person, is I think sales is the great training ground for that. So I can see the correlation between the amount of offers you were putting in and maybe the rejection that you were feeling on the sales side. I mean, it definitely you kind of live for that one win. So you put in a ton of these offers, you finally got them. What was that moment like, and what do you think led you to that particular situation?
It was a lot of emotions. It was emotions. Like, it was excitement. And then it was also like, holy crap, like, what do we do now? Like, like what do I do? I don't know. And so, thankfully you have, teammates, sponsors, different people you can lean on to, get these things done. Right. But, it was really, really exciting. A lot of hard work finally came to fruition, and it was really exciting, but also a little bit of fear. But, in those moments, you lean on people that have done it before. So.
Yeah. So you kind of took your relational capital, and then, how long did you build that relational capital up before you actually did something with it?
From the very beginning, I was building relationships. I was raising capital. I was doing all sorts of things I could for the first 7 months, and just trying to add value to other people. That was the way that I approached this thing. How can I add value to you? How can I add value to you? And, it's hard to add value when you're new. You don't really know how to add value, but if you just keep putting yourself out there and trying, people will let you know what they need. And if you can fill that void, then, well, you got a partnership.
So another version of this, bumping your head against the wall until you figure it out. So talk to us about, like, how did you figure out what value you're going to add to somebody, and what transpired from that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, give an example.
Yeah. So, one example was like the part of the way I got into my first deal. It wasn't even my deal. I got brought into it. I helped in a couple of different ways. But I actually joined a mastermind group and, did some mentoring, and that helped a ton, but they offered us to be able to go do some due diligence and just go observe. And so I just volunteered and went and observed, and I just tried to help out as much as I could, help out the operators on that deal as much as I could during their due diligence process. And I actually made some good relationships with the operators on that deal, and ended up getting brought into that deal for raising capital, and also for helping with asset management, because I was local to that market.
But you didn't ask for a compensation up front. So it just kind of worked out that way.
I offered it for free. I just wanted exposure. Nice. Yeah.
This is so key.
Yeah.
Not everybody thinks like this. This is a really good point, because, if you give and give and give, eventually someone's going to be like, you know what, dude, come on in. Even if you have no experience. And I don't think everybody approaches it that way. That maybe, there's people out there that are looking for, all right, what percentage if I do this? It sounds like you just kind of dove in there. Finally, you figured out a skill. You started doing the skill over and over again, or whatever. You kind of just started to learn. And I think what people get too hung up on is they're like, I have to be just the deal finder, or I have to be just the money raiser, or whatever it is. But
I want these terms, or I want these terms.
I want these terms,
GP,
or else
I want to get paid like this.
Yeah, exactly. They get too caught up in like the specifics. And the reality is there's so many different ways you can add value into a syndication, into a partnership. And the best way to figure out what you're going to add is just to go and try to do it. Even like you did, just go and helping out with DD or whatever.
Yep.
And I think people try to limit themselves too much. It's I'm this, I'm that. And because there's such a broad spectrum, the more of these skills you can pick up along the way, the more valuable you're going to be to any partnership. Like I've gotten to a place now in my career, 11 years in, where there's not a lot of parts of the business that I can't do. I could pretty much do any part of it. Now I'd like some parts more than others, but the reality is, I cut my teeth on the deal finding. That was like my biggest value add. That was where I went the deepest. But then I started adding all these other skills along the way. And not only that, it was about the skills that I wasn't good at, getting just dangerous at it, just enough to be dangerous. I hated accounting going into this stuff. I hired a consultant to teach me accounting because now I know I need that for the business. Right. So I'm curious, Eric, what other skills how did you pick up other skills along the way to get into that position?
Yeah, I think it was just one through mentoring and coaching, right? I think that's huge. If you guys have the opportunity to jump into some sort of coaching and mentor program, I know you guys have one. I'd 100% recommend it. That jump started my trajectory in this space a lot, but I just really let the interpersonal skills come out and just offered help as much as I could. And even if I didn't know what I was doing, I'd try to figure it out.